while the lessons that you can learn from wrestling are fake ones, there are lessons you can pull from the wrestling that are quite real. Even if you've never watched a professional wrestling match, you've probably heard of some of their superstars. You've probably heard of Hulk Hogan. You've probably heard of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. These are people who all made their fame on the wrestling stage before they ever made it to another stage. And let me tell you, it is all about the stage. They don't walk into the ring when they first walk in. They walk into a stage. Randy Orton walks onto the wrestling stage. A giant bank of television lights are behind him. Those lights are 2 stories tall. A huge picture of a viper appears behind him. His theme music plays. It goes exactly like this. I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me. He walks off the stage and he walks down the ramp through the audience. The kids are stretching their hands out. Please, Randy Orton, touch me or give me a high five. But he does not. He walks through the audience and he walks into the ring. And he climbs up onto the top turnbuckle and he does a move that's somewhat like this, sort of like he was Atlas holding up the world. I remind you, he has black trunks and he has black boots. And I ask you, is Randy Orton a good guy or a bad guy? Clearly, Randy Orton is a bad guy. But that music, what's that? It's Flight of the Valkyries. Bum-ba-da-bum, bum, bum-ba-da-bum, bum, bum-ba-da-bum, bum. It's Daniel Bryan coming on the stage. Daniel Bryan has bright red trunks and bright red boots. And a t-shirt that says yes, yes, yes across the front, exclamation mark after each one. As he runs down, he high-fives every kid that he possibly can as he runs into the ring. And he gets into the ring and he marches around the ring like this with his index fingers extended. And everyone in the audience knows to chant with him in his movements. Everyone in the audience goes, yes, 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 yes. He's the leader of the yes movement, in case you haven't figured that out. And he smiles with his long red goat-like beard as he waves at the audience. And I ask you, what about this person I just described? Is Daniel Bryan a good guy or a bad guy? Clearly, Daniel Bryan is a good guy, which brings us to wrestling lesson number 1. First impressions, everything. When someone sees you, your persona, your demeanor, your attire, that leaves an impression, just like your mother told you, right? This is not news to anyone in the room. First impressions, everything. If you've never attended a wrestling match before, but you were there on the night that I just described, you would be cheering for Daniel Bryan. You'd be cheering against Randy Orton. 2 people that you've never even met before. Good and bad, clearly defined. So the match begins. They probably wrestle a couple times a month. Sometimes Randy Orton wins, sometimes Daniel Bryan wins. That brings us quickly to wrestling lesson number 2. The good guy doesn't always win. Aren't you the good guy? Aren't you the one who should get the promotion, the raise? Aren't you the one who should win the girl or the guy? Aren't you the one who deserved to get that house and someone bid it right out from under you? Aren't you the good guy in every situation in which you participate? Yes, of course. We all cheer for ourselves. But do you win every time? No, you do not. The good guy does not always win. You know what you do? You move on to another match. You put that one behind you, and you move on. That brings us to one that many consider to be the greatest of them all. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Flair was a good wrestler, but he was a great speaker. He could speak you into submission. You just lay down for the 3 count. He was a self-described Learjet flying, limo riding, kiss stealing, wheeling, dealing son of a gun. His words. And he had some great expressions, one of which he would put an exclamation mark of a woo at the end of his sentences. Give an example. Wahoo McDaniel, Charlotte, North Carolina, Saturday night, you're going down, brother. Woo! Hulk Hogan, the last time we met, you beat me, but this time it'll be the last thing you ever do, brother. Woo! Now, there were many great Flair-isms. The greatest Flair-ism, my personal favorite, was his expression, to be the man, you've got to beat the man. Now, there's a lot of truth in that if you think about it. For you to win, sometimes someone else has to lose. Not all that pleasant, For you to win the promotion, the job, the raise, the boy, the girl, the friendship, sometimes someone else has to lose. You see Flair's message there is pretty simple. Focus on your victory. When you're sitting there beating yourself up about the thing that you didn't get, about the thing that you didn't earn, that you meant to accomplish and you didn't accomplish it, you can probably sit there all day and beat yourself up over your failures. Focus on your wins. Focus on the times when you did beat the man or the woman. To be the man, you do truly have to beat the man. There's a lot of truth in that, but you focus on your wins. You focus on your victories. Don't focus on your losses. You see, folks, the lessons from wrestling are really very simple in all things that your mother or father taught you. Wrestling really is a reflection of life. And when you realize that the good guy doesn't always win, when you realize that first impressions really are everything, and when you realize for you to focus on your victories, sometimes someone else has to lose, and that's okay. You will also realize that you've learned some very real lessons from a very big sport. Madam Contest Master. Woo!